Hello YouTube friends, I hope you're all doing well today. Thank you so much for joining in and welcome to another leather crafting video. My name is David and in this video we'll be working on a leather pen sleeve made out of ROCADO shell Cordovan. In our previous video we've made a minimalist rifle wallet using this beautiful black marble shell piece, and we managed to save two large pieces from the hide which we're going to be using for this and other small upcoming projects. And today we're going to focus exclusively in a simple yet elegant looking pen sleeve design that is really easy to make since it only involves 3 leather pieces and 1 stitching run. Now, with the amount of leather and color arrangement, the most challenging part when cutting out the leather is to find the most appropriate section for your project. In this case, you can see the leather has some really dark sections with no cream tones, and for this project I really want the marble contrast to show as much as possible on the front, and fortunately found a nice section of the hide that won't take too much remnants when cutting it out. After tracing the template over the leather with my scratch awl, I went on and cut the pieces with a cutting ruler and an X-Acto knife, and also with the knife rounded the tip of the sleeve completely by hand. Next, I needed to finish any edge on the sleeve that won't be stitched or handled later on, such as the upper part of the front piece and the entire flap section. This is important since first, a small section of the front piece cannot be painted later on, and second, it makes the final polishing of the edges much easier to handle in the end. To finish the edges, I painted them with some Fibbings edge coat in black color and polished them with some Tokonole burnishing gum and a small piece of canvas cloth. This is a vegetable tan leather and can be easily burnished with water and friction. Keep in mind that you can only do this in this type of leather. You won't be able to do this in any other chrome tan leather. For those leathers you can paint the edges directly. To make the stitching holes, I traced a stitching line with an edge creaser of 4 mm. I found this tool to be extremely useful since it leaves a decent distance between the edge and the stitching and is fast and easy to use. Then with a pair of diamond chisels, I punched the holes, leaving enough space for the upper edge to the first hole, so when we punch the holes through the back part of the sleeve, we have the first stitching sitting right next to both pieces. This will make the stitching look more even and clean. And when we're finished with the first piece, we can move on to prepare the large part of the sleeve, which is the back side and flap. Now to glue both pieces together, I used a water-based glue and only covered a small section of the edges of both pieces that I was going to join together. And I have to say that this glue is working really good. So if you're looking for one that doesn't smell and can be easily wiped out of your hands and leather pieces, I'll leave a link where you can get this glue online. Once the pieces have been well glued together, we can punch the stitching holes once again, and you can see the importance of leaving the first stitching hole right at the edge of the front part. Now to close the sleeve, we need a small rectangular piece that will hold the flap in place, and to make it we'll follow the same process of cutting, painting and polishing the piece. Now for the stitching, I use some cream color linen thread from Filo Chinois, and to know how much thread to use, I roughly measure the total length of where the stitching will sit on the sleeve, which is in this case 15 centimeters or approximately 6 inches, and then multiply that number by 4 and add an extra 20 centimeters to have enough thread to work comfortably when stitching. And now comes the fun part, which is to prepare the needles to the thread, and to do this we need to stitch the thread itself with the needles. It sounds weird, but the idea is to create a loop that will hold both of them tightly together when pulling the thread through every stitching hole. You can see in this example how this is done. Once the threads are ready, we can start stitching our sleeve, not through the first hole of the back side, but through the first one of the front side, and then move one stitch backwards to make a double stitch in this part. This is because as time passes, this part will receive the most tension when opening and closing the sleeve, so you want to have a really tough closure in here. So finally we can paint and polish the edges of the sleeve, and once we're done we can call it a day. But first we need to sand out any excess of fibers left between the pieces, and we can do this by hand with a rough sandpaper. For instance, an 80 or 100 grit sandpaper, or we can use a Dremel, which I use in this project, and then remove any sharp edges with an edge beveler. In this case I'm using a beveler number 2. Friends, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please give a thumbs up on the video, and if you're into leather crafts and wish to see more crafting projects, consider subscribing to the channel. As I said before, I'll leave you a link where you can get the leather, the pattern for this project, and the water-based glue. Let me know your thoughts on this project, and if you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section below. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.